Okay guys, you can see there's a couple pots on the stove. Nothing to do with today's video. I am in the kitchen and there's no more Christmas decorations up. But in the video you're going to see Christmas decorations. You're actually going to see a Christmas tree in the background. It was one we shot. It's something that we do maybe a couple times a year, but definitely every year around Christmas we make a load of sweet bread. Now people call it sweet bread, raisin bread, lassie bread, molasses bread, whatever name you want to put on it, it's all good. So come along and see how we do our bread, sweet bread, molasses bread, lassie bread, whatever you want to call it. And hopefully you enjoy the video and maybe you can have a go at it yourself. But this morning I'm going to make a batch of you heard people call it raisin bread, sweet raisin bread. So it's got molasses, it's got raisins, it's bread. You pick your name, call it what you want. I'm hoping it's going to be delicious, and we'll see how it turns out. So you'll notice this morning, if you saw my last bread making video, which I'll put a link down below, bread making is pretty much a team effort, especially when you're recording, because you got to get your hands dirty, and it's hard to operate the camera when the hands are full of bread. So come along and see how it turns out. Okay, first thing you get going before you get your bread and flour started, you get 3 cups warm water and 3 packs of this Blakeman's yeast, the 8 kilogram packs. So and 3 teaspoons of sugar. That'll help your yeast to poof. And because this is sweet bread, we're going to add a little extra yeast. We'll add an extra spoonful of this. Okay, and now we'll just stir this in. And we'll get back to that shortly, hopefully, because it's poofing good. Now we'll get to the flour. Okay, first thing I didn't record it, but I had 7 pounds of flour, which is basically 24 cups. So I'll put that in. I don't use a sifter when I put it in. Some people do. You see in some videos. I just usually sift it around now, loosen the flour before I add my sugar. I probably will add more flour as I start to make the bread, because you got to get the right texture type thing. Now we got our flour sifted. I add a cup of sugar, and I do the same thing. I usually work the sugar through. Work the sugar through so that it's well mixed in the mixture. And we got 3/4 cup of butter. And again, we mix it through. And we got a 1/4 cup cooking oil. And you got it, and mix it through. Okay. And put a tablespoon of cinnamon. Yeah, not much more than a tablespoon in there. I'll give you a little taste to your sweet bread on the bread, and we mix it through. And cloves, there's about, I'll measure it out for anybody trying to follow the recipe, but yeah, about a tablespoon again. Just add that, gives the bread some flavor. Okay, and we got 3 cups of raisins. And we mix it through. Okay, now that we got a battery put in the camera again, and it's a good thing to check before you start that your battery's not low. So now we got our bread, our flour, our raisins, our cinnamon, our cloves, our butter, our sugar, our oil, all mixed in here. We'll go check on our yeast to see if that's poofing out there. Okay, and you can see right here, the yeast is, you can see on the side better, looks like a head on a beer. Really starting to poof up here. So now we're going to add that to the flour. What I'll do before I add the yeast, here I make a well in the middle of my bread. Okay, I got the yeast in. Okay, now I got the yeast in. I'm going to mix the yeast through the flour. Again, every step I usually work it in so that it's all worked through. And quite often raisin bread is a heavier bread, and sometimes it doesn't rise. And where I'm making a video today probably will be one of those days where it won't rise. Okay, so for the molasses, what I got is 1 cup of molasses and a cup of water. A little bit warm so the molasses runs out good. Okay. And we mix it in. Okay, just added a couple cups of water there, warm water. To help get it through. I'm probably going to add it more right now. Okay, put that in there. It's always good to have an extra set of hands when you're at this. Four more flour there, I think. Mm-hmm. Just add a little bit more flour. It's really too sticky right now. When you add the flour, you gotta make sure you mix it in good. Okay guys, you should have, when you finish, is a ball, still slightly sticky, but it's not sticking onto the gloves anymore. And now we're going to grease that with butter. Okay. Grease it with butter. And a good coating of butter on it so it don't stick to anything. Grease our pans. Make sure you get lots of butter on it so it don't stick to your pans. Okay, now we got our coated. The pan is coated because it's going to rise, hopefully fill up the pan. We'll cover it up. Okay, now we're going to cover it. And now that we got it covered, we'll let it rise for a couple hours. Okay, 2 hours later. You see now the bread is rose up. You see the pan there, right there. So now what I'll do, I'll take that, I'm going to knead it down again. Not a lot here, but flip it over. Still already buttered. Cover it back up. And we'll put it back on the stove. Right now we do have the oven on 250 just to keep the top of the stove warm, help it rise. So we'll get it covered now and we'll put it back on the stove again. Okay, she's covered up here again now on the stove. Oven's on 250 just to heat the oven. So we'll let her sit there and for another couple hours, and we'll take it off then and we'll put it in the pans and we'll let it rise again. Okay guys, the bread is really rose up, really tight here in the pan. So now we're going to get it out of there and we're going to put it in the bread pans over here. What I do is I uncover my bread over here. Oh yeah. And as you can see, the pan is full. So, get around here. You can see it. So then I'll take out some bread like so. We just give it a couple of rolls like this. And we put it in our pans. Same thing. Let it roll. Try to get a uniform, but usually not all uniform. So now we got 3 buns in the pan, like so, and we'll let it rise there. Okay, now we got it in the pans. We got to let it rise before it goes in the oven. So again, we take some time, probably a couple hours, and we'll get this in the oven. Okay, now we got it all covered up here, tucked in. We'll let that rise, and we'll get that in the oven in about 2 hours, give or take a bit. Okay guys, been rising in the pans now for a couple of hours. As you can see, they look good. They've risen up quite a bit. So let's get them into the oven. Put them this way. Okay, 35 minutes gone by, and there's our bread. So we'll take these out. And we'll get more back in there. And we'll set the timer for 35 minutes. Okay, now that we got them out the oven, others in, take these out of the pan. Pretty light, guys. Now we take our butter and we give them a coating of butter. Ready to cut once it's fresh. Now, some people put jam, whatever on bread. My grandfather used to eat it like it was because he said it already had molasses and butter and raisins in the bread, so he didn't need anything on it. Personally, I like a bit of butter, and This is how I like it. And maybe that's a lot of butter to some people. Not soft, is it? Make you swallow your tongue. Until next time, keep on cooking.